One of the popular things to ask is, what percentage of coaching the game is physical and what percentage is mental? And
Wow.
My standard answer to that is that it's 100% both. Right? You can't,
Good one.
you can't distinguish the two from each other. You can't just practice the mental game and you can't just practice the physical game. You're constantly doing both.
This is the Leave It Better podcast, powered by the Side Out Foundation. Here's your host, Hall of Fame coach, Janice Kruger.
Welcome to the Leave It Better podcast. Today, I'm honored to be joined by one of collegiate volleyball's Division III most accomplished leaders, Becky Schmidt, head volleyball coach at Hope College. Becky has built an extraordinary legacy at Hope over the last 21 years. Are we going into 21 years, I think?
We're done with 21 years.
We're done with 21. So over the last 21 years, you've built that. And you are also an alumni of Hope College and actually came back to your alma mater in 2003 and have transitioned and built just a powerhouse Division III program there. And you've captured 8 MIAA regular season championships, 5 tournament titles, and made 15 appearances in the Division III NCAA tournament. And one of the highlights, I'm guessing, was in 2014 when you won a national championship in terms of accomplishments. I know along the way, all those seasons are special in their own way. Over 500 victories at Hope College already, well over. Been recognized as Coach of the Year multiple times, and also AVCA Region 7 Coach of the Year. Beyond these coaching accomplishments, you were also an outstanding player there at Hope College, and also their very first All-American, I believe, and also twice recognized as Most Valuable Player. Now, I think that's somebody I really want to get to know. Today, we have the privilege of learning from Becky and her outstanding volleyball journey, her coaching philosophy, and the insights she's gained throughout her remarkable career. Becky, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's so fun. Your connection with Hope College, as I mentioned, started as a player, and I believe you grew up in that area as well.
Yeah, grew up in Holland, Michigan. Here, my parents were had residence in a dorm on campus when I was between the ages of 1 and 4. So I literally grew up on campus. There was no chance I was going to go anywhere else when I was making my college choice.
Yeah, I bet not. How fun is that? Your experience as a player, and as you mentioned now, growing up with your parents, so connected to Hope College. In what ways did that influence you in your coaching career?
Certainly loyalty is a really big and important thing to me. I'm very loyal to this place because it's been very loyal to me, and, growing up, I was inspired by the people that were here. As a college student athlete, I had the experience of being mentored and led by some incredible professors, faculty, staff. As I think about, what it means for me showing up to work every day, is I want to be that for other people. And so that's the greater purpose that I find behind my work is that I get to walk alongside student athletes and people in this community to try to make these 4 years the best that they can possibly be, to make this college the best environment and place that it can be.
Yeah. Well, I think you're succeeding quite well there.
We're trying.
Yeah. I noticed that you went to school at the Miami University of Ohio, and you got a master's degree there. And I spoke to one other person that I think may have been there at the time you were there, and you got your master's degree in sports behavior and performance. Mm-hmm. Was Paco Labrador anywhere around? He was. He helped in my program for just a little bit back in the 90s, 1999, I think it was. Okay. And but that education you got there was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
How has your background in that sports psychology shaped your approach to coaching and team development?
Oh man. Well, first of all, the experience that I had at Miami was incredible, and Paco is a big reason for that, because it was his first year being an assistant coach at Miami. Was the first year that I was a graduate assistant, in that program. He was a D3 guy from Hiram College, and I was, coming from Hope College and having this Division I experience. He was just such a great mentor to go through that whole experience with, being able to think about like perspective and how this whole sports thing fits into this college education thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just a wonderful learner and somebody that I've really appreciated throughout my coaching experience. So the sports psychology component of is like, man, like that's like everything about coaching.
Yeah.
One of the popular things to ask is, like what percentage of coaching the game is physical and what percentage is mental. Wow. My like standard answer to that is that it's 100% both, right? You can't,
Good one.
you can't distinguish the two from each other. You can't just practice the mental game and you can't just practice the physical game. You're constantly doing both. And that's what we try to do. We try to embed in every practice an opportunity to be able to generate a lot of motivation, to be able to work through situations that are going to be challenging so that you can harness some coping strategies to be able to be your best and to accomplish the goals that you have set, to remain confident even in the face of failure and to persevere, and then to develop team skills that are going to help you be a collaborator and somebody that other people want to work with, because they make you better. So yeah, I think that it's all woven together, and it's hard to separate.
I love that answer. 100% of both. Perfect. Like, did this just come upon you, or how did you pull that one out? I think it's great.
Well, I think it was, the Yogi Berra quote, I think is like sports is 80% mental and the other half is physical, Yeah. It's a concept that like, I kind of like, I believe in a lot of things, you see, the student athlete hyphenated, like oftentimes. And one of the things that we've started doing is we've put a period in between. So we're student and we're athlete. We're never not one without the other, it comes together, the whole notion of work-life balance too, right? Like how do you strive, have it? He's like, you never do. Like it's just constantly kind of keeping both things elevated, in your life.
Yeah. Well, I love it, Becky. We're going to share that with a lot more people. So we're still in the journey part. So when did you go to California? You were in California for just a brief period of time, coaching, and then doing some club things there. And what was, tell us a little bit about that. And did that shape you in any way prior to you coming back to be the head coach at Hope?
Well, when I was done at Miami, I knew that I wanted to be a D3 head coach. Like that was what I wanted to do, but I didn't think I was ready to be a head coach yet. And so I applied for every Division I assistant coaching job in the country, and then every Division III head coaching job that was available, just because I was like, well, why not? If that's my dream, let's let somebody else, hold me back. I got a few Division I assistant job opportunities that weren't really, I didn't think, great fits, but, really got 3 Division III head coaching interviews that, again, like I said, I didn't think I was prepared for or ready for. But, one of them was in sunny Southern California and let's go do this. And I really was impressed by the people over there. It felt a lot like Hope. Didn't have the same kind of Christian dimension that Hope had, but was a place where character mattered. And I felt really good about serving. So went out to Southern California and of course made a ton of mistakes, and learned a lot through that process. But it really reinforced that coaching was what I wanted to do, and that I had some ideas about how to do it well, and then the opportunity at Hope came up. So
yeah, what about the club part? There was weren't you involved in some club stuff? And California, I don't know what their club is like, if it's like the same kind of stuff in Michigan or everywhere else in the country. But how was that for you? I mean, is that something you encourage people to, might want to dabble in that some or not?
Well, one of the things that I really felt was important while I was an assistant coach at Miami was that I wanted to keep what I would call my head coaching legs. So I was coaching club at Miami. And was the head coach of a 17s team for a local club, borderline volleyball club. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that. Like I love teaching people the game of volleyball. So I got involved in Redlands with a local club, and so had that experience. I think in my last year we kind of pivoted away from having teams like normal, kind of club teams, and went more in the direction of doing like youth academy types of experiences. This was when we made the court smaller. We made it 3 people on a side versus having 6 people. And this was like a lot of 12s and 13s that we were doing this with. And then the whole Volley Tots, kind of thing took off from there, mm-hmm. doing a lot of the same types of concepts, and so, we were kind of doing some of that stuff really early on and just trying to help kids understand the concepts of the game and not just the skills of it.
Yeah, right. How fun. I did some of the club coaching as well early in my career, and it's just the best thing to be around students that age and that love the game like you do and are eager to learn. So here's the next question. I want to go into a little bit about, building your championship culture. Mm-hmm. And so in 2014, you led your team to the first national championship. You have a national championship under your belt. That's amazing. Looking back, what were some of the key ingredients that helped make that team special? How did you build toward that achievement of getting your championship?
Well, I think first and foremost, that was a very talented group. It wasn't necessarily maybe the most talented team that we've ever had, mm-hmm. but it was a very talented and hardworking group. I think one of the things that is critical to the success that team experienced was the heartbreak that they had experienced the year before. Mm. And, the picture that's up behind me here, this is when we hosted the national championship in 2012 and 2013, we made it to be able to compete at home. That was in 2013. We had, a very talented group, but we got waxed in this game. That is, and this picture is a little reminder of both what amazing community support that we have, but also a little reminder to me of hey, get to work. Cause that was pretty cool, but it was also a really, really difficult experience. So I think the heartbreak that they experienced in getting swept, I think in 55 minutes with a really good Wisconsin Stevens Point team, that stayed with them over the course of the next year. That motivated them, that drove them. And so when we went into the next season in 2014, they knew what they wanted to do. And I think that one of the things that happened was that they really figured out their own personal will. like the will of that team to get past any type of situation, right? Like we were down 2-0 in the second and third round games against Juniata and against Paco's Wittenberg team, and ended up coming back to win both of those, to get to the Elite Eight, and then to compete. I remember going into the fifth set of our championship match against Emory. We had just lost the fourth set, and I remember never being more confident in my team's ability to respond. Like it was a confidence that was striking, in this team's will. It was absolutely special. And I have no idea what we did to develop that, except that we were relentless in trying to stay positive and aspirational, while also managing the heartbreak, of some of those other types of experiences.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah. I had that similar kind of experience happen with me at the Division II level. And it was just that I was all anxious about some game or something we were doing, and the setter came over and she goes, "Janice, just relax. We got this."
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, I will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
but
love that.
they really, you got to love when you see that in your players, and what a great experience for everybody. So, you've been in the Division III tournament 15 different times. That's a lot in your 20 years there. How do you sustain something like that? You've got recruiting, you've got training, you've got academics that have to stay strong for you. Mm-hmm. What's some of your secrets or some of your advice?
Yeah, I think that recruiting is definitely the lifeblood of this work, right? Like it is. If you don't have the players, it's hard to manufacture that kind of success. And luckily, I'm at a place that is it's an easy spot to recruit to, right? We do a lot of things well here, and not to say that there aren't challenges. We don't get every single person that we want, but I think that we're able to connect with players that are willing to give a lot, to this experience, and who we really respect, and not just what they're trying to make this volleyball experience, but the entire college experience. And so over the years, we've just been able to kind of maintain a similar standard of work ethic and what this is all about. And we're able to draw really great kids to want to buy in.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely with that kind of success. I read somewhere that you said one of the things you like to do is learn from every opportunity that you have. Can you share any significant challenge or setback in your coaching career? And we talked about the losses prior to your championship, and how that ultimately helped you to grow.
One of the experiences that I had was in the years right after winning the national championship. A lot of coaches will say this, and I probably had heard it before, but ignored it, right? I was like, oh, come on, this can't be true, right? But they will say that their hardest years of coaching were the ones immediately after winning a national championship. And this is why, when I look at coaches that have won consecutive national championships, or even gotten back to the Final Four, or to the Elite Eight after winning one, I'm just even more blown away, because I know that it is really, really difficult. That change of that achievement has a really terrible impact on the way that you handle expectation and hold expectations. At least it did for me. And I think it does for a decent number of coaches that are out there. On top of that, we adopted our son, who was a newborn, in that year following.
Oh gosh.
And so over the course of the next couple of years, I was very sleep deprived, and trying to really have a like just confronting some inner things around like life purpose and like work life balance. Right. We'll talk about that again. And I was not a good coach. My coaching evaluations showed it. Would have, some meetings with my AD, who like really had my back and was, not concerned about some of these things. But I looked at those coaching evaluations and I was like, I am sacrificing so much for these student athletes. And, that if I'm not having the kind of impact that I want to have here, like, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I still loved coaching. And so I was like, okay, I need to do some work. So I found a friend of the program. She had done some leadership consulting with us. Her name is Becky Bruns.
Okay.
She was an executive coach by training, but volunteered to work, when some leadership stuff with our team, and was just a fan. And I said, I need some help. And so we started meeting weekly, and she gave me a bunch of stuff to read. And that really helped me to put myself in a much better spot.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching wise. I wasn't getting defensive nearly as much around some different things. I found like I had to name it, but I was finding myself resenting my players about some things where there was some conflict between what we were doing and trying to do. I'll still say like that some of the environmental things I had going on was like, you could have cut me a little slack, but what are they, how are they supposed to know,
they don't, yeah.
Those things, and so, there was just a huge disconnect, but, by getting humble and asking for help and really trying to just look at things as they were versus like how I wanted them to be was really meaningful, and so I think that curiosity, that came into play in that situation is something that stayed with me, that I'm constantly now looking for inspiration and different types of things that can help me do my job better and, to continue to learn and to grow.
Yeah. I think it's a really positive part is when you're not afraid to ask for help. That's not a weakness. That's a strength. And I admire that.
That's gotten to be popular recently, right? Like, right. Just in the last, 10 years or so, Brene Brown, like power vulnerability, like all this kind of stuff now is getting discussed. I don't feel like it was quite as popular back then, and so, but yeah, I mean, certainly lessons that you're glad you go through. Like, I had my blinders on. Like I thought that I knew some of that stuff, but it just wasn't coming into action in my coaching and in my work life.
Perspective. It's just, and I watched your team play this year in the semifinal against Junior. Yeah, you were leading, I think. And what a game. I mean, I was just like blown away. So you had, you drive, and I sort of sense from you, there's a competitive spirit that is fun, but tough, that I just think is one of the best things in athletics. You talked about competitiveness, creating that fire. What is it, or what are some of the things that you have in your program that helps you to facilitate that? Maybe bring it out a little more in some of your players. They may have it, but maybe it's not, really as tough as you're going to want it to be.
Well, I think that one of the things that we talk a lot in our program about is being your authentic self. But we also will say that you probably haven't figured out your most effective performance self yet. And so like we want people to be vulnerable, to be who they are, but we also like kind of acknowledge that when it comes down to being a performer, like, and to be your best when your best is needed, that we're on a constant journey of figuring out what that looks like. And so we talk to our players a lot about like showing their enthusiasm, their love, the joy that comes through in playing this game. We want them to have fun. We want them to be emotive. I think that that's one of the things that, is honestly something that we've thought a little bit about, is like, hey, we're having these highs and, but like we're on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster sometimes. Do we want to sacrifice the emotional highs so that hopefully it doesn't like come down as low and just be a lot more steady? And you see those types of teams out there, right? Like you see teams that are just like very steady the entire time. And, in the end of the day, we're like, no, we don't want to be that team. Like we want to be the team that's out there having fun, showing a love for the game, showing love for each other. And that's who we want to be as coaches too, right? And like, honestly, if you came to one of our practices, you'd see the exact same thing. Like you'd see the same type of energy. You'd see the same type of competitiveness. You'd see Lauren Lee slapping the floor after somebody makes a great kill. You'd see somebody like jumping 15 times after they get a block, and
right.
And like that's just us, and that's who we're going to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell our players that they've got to stick any of their love or their joy in the pocket in order to be a little bit more consistent and be a little bit more steady. I think that there's certainly some aspects that we're continuing to try to find where we can keep our highs high, but make sure that our lows don't dip very far. Certainly in some, situations that's easier to do than others. But yeah, that's kind of the stuff behind the stuff.
Yeah. It's like the pressure, I guess, that being able to, create a pressure in those environments where you are having the fun, you're playing because it's a joy to play and you love your teammates. You get opportunities along the season to hopefully run into some of that when you're competing against folks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we score a lot of the drills that we do in practice. I'm big into constraints learning approach. So we try to structure our drills and our training environment to give a lot of the feedback, versus like coaches needing to be able to do it. Like
results.
Really encouraging our student athletes to explore the skills and to use the training environment to provide feedback. Constraints learning approach.
Okay.
Some might call it like ecological dynamics theory of motor development or motor learning. This is just something that I've been trying to research over the last couple of years, especially. I think we did a lot before, but now like I'm just starting to realize that it's a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, you might set up a drill so that the drill itself provides the feedback. And players are then given freedom within the constraints to figure out how to do it to the best of their abilities, right? So you might set rules, right, for a drill. And I think a lot of people are doing this type of stuff. And I don't think this is like, earth shattering or anything like that. But you set up rules within a drill that if you are able to follow the rules and succeed, you're helping yourself learn a little bit more about how you need to do the skill and to play the game. And it helps to make things a little bit more game-like. It helps
definitely
connect, to chain, some skills up.
I'm guessing your practices are just a lot of fun. I mean, being challenged, kids love to be challenged. It's when you don't challenge them enough where you can get minds floating away.
Yeah.
But I bet your practices are fun. Okay. So now, you also said somewhere you've got the greatest staff in the country. And I was looking a little bit at that and who they were and read a little bit about them. There's a lot of alumni that are coming back. And you earlier spoke a little bit about loyalty. And then I think there was also some mention that it's just makes the job fun.
Yeah.
let's talk about that a little bit. Some people are scared to do that. Some people may find other ways to bring in assistant coaches, but they're really important people in programs.
Yeah, no, our assistant coaches are absolutely huge. They take a lot of the weight off of me. For a long time in this job, I really kind of felt a little bit like I was on an island. And it's not because I didn't have the staff that I needed or wanted. But I had assistant coaches who were coming in, after they got done with their teaching job at 3:30, and then, kind of leaving at 6, after practice. And then, in the off season, we wouldn't see each other very often. I felt like a lot of it was on me. I'm probably, they probably would have accepted like more responsibility if I had like felt, in a position to be able to turn some of it over.
Yeah.
But in recent years, we were able to get like what we're calling a coaching intern position. And that is, somebody that shares the office with me here. She doesn't make a very big salary, but we have, kind of housing and meals and like that kind of thing for her. And it's pretty much just like a 2-year job. And so we've had a few people that have gone through that position, and just the feeling of having a teammate, like doing this work of coaching with me has been absolutely huge. To be able to take some of the busy work, to take some of the stuff that I just don't feel like I've got the time to, like, that also allows me to direct more attention to some of the higher order stuff.
Yeah.
Is so helpful. Somebody on campus that is seeing our student athletes as they walk around campus and saying, "Hey, let's go grab coffee." Like there's more opportunities for investment in our student athletes because of this. And then last year, one of our assistant coaches, Carrie Lahaki, was able to become a faculty member within our kinesiology department, teaching in the health and PE program.
Awesome.
Yeah. So now she's on staff. We've got another volunteer that is on a visiting teaching position at the college in the exercise science program. So there's just a lot of volleyball people that I get to see every day. And it's so great just to feel like we're all on this team together,
Yeah.
And, like, I'm not super organized. These people keep me a lot more organized, which is phenomenal. But it also provides opportunities for those little bump ins to be able to say, "Hey, let's just stop what we're doing and let's think through this problem a little bit more, and let's try to like generate some really creative solutions." And that's stuff that I would be doing, but I would feel really extended, and not be able to do it my best when I was kind of like on my own.
Yeah. That's really great that the school has helped facilitate that for you. And I believe I read Carrie wasn't she AVCA Assistant Coach of the Year?
Assistant Coach of the Year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. I think that, one of the things when we look for new assistant coaches, I usually will go to my network of people that understand me, that understand our program, and ask for recommendations first.
Yeah.
But one of the things in that initial thing is like, you can't be too cool for school. Like you can't be too much about yourself. Because if you're that, then you're going to have this like kind of wall up that's going to stop you from having the kind of fun that we have. We have a good time. We'll get into like little Nerf gun battles in the hallway of our office, and it's fun.
That's good. That's great, actually. Okay. So you teach kinesiology.
I'm actually moving into strategic planning with the college. So, I'm still teaching. I teach a sports psych class right now. And up until last year, I was teaching the coaching class, and a senior seminar, but we're doing a new strategic plan for the college, and I'm kind of heading up that effort. So,
okay. Oh, wow. So with all that you've done and are doing, how do you integrate that into your program? Has there been you spoke about one already that you were doing, and then you figured out what the name of it was.
Yeah.
So, is there any other things that, that's such a benefit. I think I also saw that there were several of your assistants that had some kinesiology background, which I would think is a bit of a advantage.
Yeah. I mean, I think that being in a community, like an educational community, is like the greatest place ever, because you're in a place where curiosity matters, and you've got a lot of people who, are willing to take a rigorous approach to answering questions. And that's coaching, right? Like you're trying to figure out how to optimize this team's abilities, and their ability to perform. And you're taking a very rigorous approach to answering those questions. Every year is different, and so you are coming at it with a that kind of curious mindset of what is it going to take. Being in a learning community is awesome, and then being able to connect things around leadership, around coaching, around sports psychology. My senior seminar class was on human-centered design, which is just basically a creative problem-solving process.
Okay.
Just apply a lot of the same types of principles that we do on the court to a variety of different types of problems that the college might be experiencing. So.
Very cool. Love that. Curiosity is just one of my most favorite things in life, I guess. Having coached for 2 decades there at Hope, have you had to adapt in any way communication style or coaching methods to connect with different generations of players, like where you're coming into the TikTok and the Instagram and the, this kind of world that I'm still trying to learn to be able to promote this podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things are you doing, there? What, have you had to adapt?
Well, I have adapted to the point where I have an appreciation for things that are not me, right? Like, so we talk in our team a lot about being your authentic self. And my authentic self is not necessarily a TikTok, type of person. And I don't have to be that. I know that my student athletes are more aligned with that. And I try to make sure that like the assistant coach that I have, with me, is a little bit on the younger side in order to be able to connect in those types of ways and to keep me kind of hip on some things. There are some things that are pretty tried and true. I think that there's like, fundamentally what makes our kids come to practice every day. And I think it's to have fun. It's to be able to connect with each other, and it's to grow like closer to their God-given potential. That has not changed, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's pretty consistent over the years. And so as long as we're tapping into those things, then I can be me, you can be you, and we're going to be working in the same direction. Like how that fun gets expressed or how some of those connections are made might change. And there's ways that we can incorporate social media to try to understand that. I do worry a little bit about like the personal status and ego and how social media really kind of feeds that component of things. Yeah. But I love being a program that's trying to be a little countercultural and to give players kind of what they need versus what they want.
Yeah.
We'll do some of that kind of stuff, but then we'll check it, and get down to the stuff that really matters. So,
love that answer. Okay, you have had community service and even yourself. You've done a lot of things for Habitat for Humanity, probably things within your community. How important is that this type of experience gets passed? Or do you do this type of experience with your players
We honestly don't do a whole lot as a program. There are a couple things that we'll do every year. We do a little project where we'll take a practice and I'll give small groups on the team $30, and they've got like 2 hours to try to multiply that $30 in any way that they can. And then we pool that money and we buy Christmas gifts for a family that's in need.
Oh, cool.
So like this past year we had 4 groups, $30 each, so $120. They turned that in 2.5 hours into $880.
Oh my God. Great idea. That's so fun.
By like baking cookies and then selling cookies, or buying donuts, and then selling donuts across campus. And one group did a raffle for the $30. Like it was, they did a lot of different things, but, the idea is to take what you have and multiply it for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do those types of things. We try to like really hone in on also like using the game to inspire kids, and so like doing little youth clinics and empowerment clinics and like that kind of thing. Our student athletes are involved in all kinds of community service, beyond. Just what we're doing within our team. Yeah. If I were to really like look at and see a perception of them being entitled, or if they are, not caring about the people next to them, or not aware of different perspectives and that kind of thing, then we would probably do that kind of thing more. But they're involved in this type of thing already in a variety of ways on campus, a lot of like service learning experiences.
Okay.
And so we haven't felt the need to add on to that, except to keep an eye on the positive aspects of doing that community work does, which is becoming more others aware, and understanding like the agency that you have to be able to make the communities around you better places.
Mm-hmm. I do still have to ask about the Habitat for Humanity, and did they give you a hammer, or what was it that you?
They gave me a Sawzall.
Oh dear. Those are a bunch of fun.
Yeah. So the demo day is my specialty.
Demo day. Oh my God, nothing better than demo day. Okay, so the game continues to evolve. There's changes and trends that are going on. What trends or changes in the sport are you most excited about or focused on?
I think that one of the biggest things that is the ways that the game is adapting is making it more spectator friendly. And so things that are helping to make the game better for TV, I think is awesome. Obviously this 5 years ago, but the switch to rally scoring was huge. And it started that kind of wave of saying, let's make this game a lot easier to understand to the greater, kind of population. And so I think that those are things that we're doing. I think that that's, the double contact, kind of moving away from the double contact is a great thing for our game, and making it more exciting and just easier to understand. Having challenges has changed my relationship with officials. I think that has been incredible. And so I think that there's a lot of good things, happening there. I get really worried about some of the NIL and transfer portal kinds of things around the game. But you know what, there's a way to any of these changes, there's ways to make it good. It's just whether or not we're going to do it, and we're going to be given the time to do it. Right.
Right.
The process of helping somebody become their best is a long road, and when we're moving more towards the immediate gratification, that kind of thing, chasing what's yours, versus what you've got to give. I think those are some real challenging things. Thankfully, in Division III, we are, like, there's a lot of really great things about this. And as I, kind of talk to some players that we're recruiting who, might have the opportunity to be a part of a Division I or Division, II program where there's a little bit more NIL, there's a little bit more kind of transferring in and out of programs. I've got the opportunity to tell a story around, what the experience is like and the long-term impact that it's going to have on people that, I get their heads nodding, I get their parents' heads nodding. And it's something that I think that there's still a market of high school players out there that don't want the thing that is happening, I think, in a lot of Division I or, NIL types of experiences.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could coach right now in Division I. I'm not interested. I'm more into the bring them in, let's grow them as a team. In 4 years, let's see what we've made kind of situation. You've achieved lots of success. What are some goals that you still have for yourself and maybe with the Hope Volleyball program?
Obviously we want to continue to win and be successful within our program. We want to be able to put teams out there that when they are playing free and at their best, are good enough to be able to win it all, right? But I think that one of the things that I'm just really, trying to chase is the experience of it.
Yeah.
Thinking about, there's a great James Corden interview where he went on and said, there's a lot of people who are chasing their legacy. I'm trying to chase the experience of it. I don't want the success of something to be based on its success. I want it to be based on my experience of it. And I think that that's really admirable and inspirational. And that's the type of thing that I'm telling my team too, right? Is like, hey, like, we've had a lot of success in the past. Don't let other people determine, what success is for you. Mm-hmm. And if the experience of it is something that's meaningful, it helps you to grow, helps you to grow in relationship with other people. It helps you to have a good time and to experience joy. Like, then that's a way better measure than, a win-loss record or a trophy at the end of the season.
Well said.
So yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to do, and I appreciate, like, as a sports psychology, person, I appreciate goal setting.
Yeah.
But goal setting, the whole point of goal setting is to, like, staircase yourself down to what can you do today to try to maximize the chance of success. Like, if I'm determining what that success is and it's based on this kind of feeling of engagement and in trying to do things with excellence, but with satisfaction and fun, like, that changes the way I go into practice every day. And like, the good things are going to happen, kind of from that. So that's what I'm trying to achieve here.
Yeah. Wow. I was just thinking as you were talking, and I'm listening to you speak about so many different things so eloquently. And I want to call into one of your classes and just audit that thing from you. So last question. Okay. What advice would you give to young coaches who are just starting their careers and hope to build successful programs? What advice would you give these guys?
I think that it starts with giving yourself grace to try things and to screw up. Make sure that when you take a job, you've got an AD that is going to provide you that same type of grace. This is a tough job when you're trying to do great things. You're going to explore some boundaries in ways that are going to end up not being the right way, and not like on an unethical, like kind of standpoint. Obviously, like there's all kinds of boundaries that you don't want to cross, but in terms of like trying new ways of doing something, trying a new defensive scheme, trying a new way of selecting captains, trying like think through things, but also like don't be afraid to try something a little bit new and different, and to appreciate what you can learn from the experience, the failure and the success, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think that it's also really important for young coaches to have networks of people that they can learn and grow with. I think mentorship sometimes is a little overrated. In what way? Well, I think the notion of having one person that you're going to be able to, that's going to get every like kind of changing dynamic and growth edge that you're going to have over a course of career is impossible to find. And so have a network of people that you don't mind leaning on. So that you can, when you've got work-life balance questions, you can go to them. When you've got questions around teaching of sports skills, that you can lean on. When you've got like just questions around like, what on earth am I doing right now? That you can lean on. People who are older than you. That as you continue to go through this career, people that are younger than you, a network of folks that will help you when you don't even really realize that you need it, and and then don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mm-hmm. I think, thank you for that answer. Awesome. So we have somebody that you know quite well coming to join us here at the Side Out Foundation. Emily, I probably won't meet her until April. Yeah, we're excited about that. And got anything you want me to know about her that I can tease her about?
Oh, I think you'll find plenty of good opportunities for healthy joshing with each other. But she is just a wonderful, caring human, and I think that the way that she's missionally aligned with your organization, and the care that she has for the volleyball community is absolutely huge. And so you're gonna love working with her.
Yeah, I got that sense by just a few of the conversations that I was a part of with her. So, yeah. Well, Becky, thank you again. I think you need to be out speaking in a lot of places right now because you're so good. Have a great summer. And next year, see you in that Final Four maybe again.
Yeah.
You've got your most valuable player, right? Back one more year?
We actually graduated a lot. So
oh, no. Okay.
This will be a year where the expectations won't be as prevalent or hammering down. However, like I do think that their inspiration and like sky's the limit with what they can do when they're playing.
Opportunities galore, right? Opportunities galore. So.
That's right. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being on, and I really appreciate this time.
Thanks, Janice. This was a great interview. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for listening. Please share your feedback with us at side-out.org.